Hi and welcome to day 11 of Vlogmas. Today I'm going to be bringing you my Xmas book haul, and it's a big one. So if you saw my goals video, you will know that I have a goal next year not to buy any new books, or at least new books that I haven't read yet. And because of that, I went ham this month on buying a bunch of books that I knew I'd want to read in the next year. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and dig in. There are like about 20 books here, so quite a few, and there are actually more in the mail that will probably come in next month's book haul, but I'm not going to count that towards my goal because I already ordered them. I'm already cheating. Let's go ahead and get started with books that aren't series. The first one is Ted Chiang's Exhalation. I've heard pretty good things about this. I was a little hesitant because I heard mixed reviews, but I think most of the horrors I've heard were actually pretty positive. And then there are a couple in here that are time travel, maybe even multiversy, and that's enough to make me want to read it because of my love of time travel. If you don't know, now you know. Next is The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. And this is one that I had heard about and was interested in. It's like sort of a dark fantasy portal story, portal fantasy. I thought it was horror, but after watching Books and Lala's reading vlog of this, it seems like it's more dark fantasy, which is fine with me. But her praise of it, she seemed to love it, which makes me think that I'm gonna love it. I was already interested, so I couldn't resist. I gave in, I bought it, and I'm actually really excited for it. I'm not sure when I'll get to it because I actually have a lot of fantasy that I need to get to. A lot of these are actually fantasy and sci-fi because that's what I love. But if I'm going to be diverse in my reading genres next year, it might be a while before I get to all of them. But we'll keep going. Next are two books by author Sarah Gailey, which is first Upright Woman Wanted. I think this is sort of a dystopian sci-fi Western type story. It's a novella. Next is Magic for Liars. And I actually have heard mixed to bad reviews for this one, which is why I've been hesitant to pick it up. But I've been wanting to read these books regardless. I wanted to branch out and give it a shot because I need to read more authors who are trans and non-binary, which I believe Sarah Gailey is. And that's not the exclusive reason why I bought it. I was already interested, obviously. But I think if I'm indecisive about what book to buy, not that I'm clearly not that indecisive about buying books, I figure it's as good a reason as any to pick them up. This one I actually don't know what it's about. Pretty sure it's a fantasy with magic. Next is a book that I got as an e-arc, and I pre-ordered it thinking, Josh, you're gonna read this, therefore you should buy it. Treat yourself. Janus Point by Julian Barber. And I did not read this book in November like I had planned. I started his other book, The End of Time, and I really wasn't liking it. I haven't DNF'd it fully, but even if I do, I have to give this book a shot because I have to review it for NetGalley, and especially now that I bought it. But I won't lie, it's thicker than I expected for some reason. But I do like this cover. It is the UK cover. I've talked about this in my time space vlog. I advise you to go there if you're interested in learning more about it. But it's nonfiction science. Another nonfiction, a couple more nonfiction actually. Heartbeat of a Wounded Knee, Native America from 1890 to the Present by David Tuer. David Tuer is, I believe, a Indigenous or Native American author, and this is a nonfiction history about Indigenous history in America. And I bought this because I don't know enough about Native American history, and I thought this would be a good place to start. It seems to have really good reviews. Actually, when was it published? I think it's actually fairly new, maybe 2019. Next is a book, shocker, on a booktube channel. I know, I'm always surprising people. The Hate Monger, or just Hate Monger, by Jean Goduro, I believe is how you pronounce it. Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, and the White Nationalist Agenda. Now, I heard about this on NPR, which is something I've been buying a lot of books, I think, that we hear off NPR lately. It's about specifically Stephen Miller. And the reason I'm interested in this, despite Trump leaving, is because there is this push, this idea that Trump is a white nationalist. And there's also pushback against that from the right. And I think Stephen Miller is the perfect example of why Donald Trump is in fact a white supremacist. Let's think about Donald Trump's administration, the fact that everyone there, so many people there, keep getting cycled out. No one is staying. Even one of his biggest allies now is leaving or has left, Attorney General Barr. Of the few people who have stayed, we have Stephen Miller, who is a top advisor of Donald Trump. And Stephen Miller has a history of connections to blatantly white nationalist groups. And one of those main agenda points that they're trying to push is this idea that birthright citizenship, which is fundamental to our nation, by the way, should be revoked. And he is one of the big reasons why Donald Trump is actually considering making an executive order to actually try and make that the case before he leaves office. And now that's just one example, I think, of what Stephen Miller represents. And I really want to read this book. I think it's important to really get an appreciation for the ideas that were being represented and pushed in the Trump administration and the ideas that Trump saw as worth maintaining and keeping around. These are the ideas that were important to him, things that he would continue to strive for, he wanted to listen to. When it came to who won the arguments, clearly Stephen Miller was there, therefore he was winning to some extent. Before I go on to the list of series I'll be reading, I want to talk about a few arcs that I have read and reviewed already. The first one is one of my favorite books of the year, Luster by Raven Leina. I don't think it's quite romance. I don't really read romance, so I don't know. It does have some romance aspects to it. It's more of a contemporary, and it follows this young 20-something-year-old black girl or black woman who starts a relationship with a married man. Now, the relationship is based with the approval of the wife, who is also a mother. But this follows their relationship, and it gets really weird and really complicated very quickly, despite the fact that there was sort of an agreement between everyone. And I think, well, this is really weird. I think it does sort of encapsulate a lot of modern issues. I think it really represents, I guess, modern attempts to find your sexual identity. I say this as a white man, so obviously this is sort of a window into what it's like to be a black woman. But even just in general, when it comes to millennials and Gen Z, when it comes to relationships, we're a bit different, I think, than previous generations. And I think this really does a good job of encapsulating that. And also, it was very beautifully written. Next, we have a memoir called The Girl from Nowhere by Aliska Tanzer. And this is a memoir about her experience growing up in Romania, or at least this is her experience as a Romanian young girl growing up from a broken home, from a mother who was in prostitution, a father who wasn't really there, and in poverty, basically, and trying to make a life for herself. And at the core of this is, I think, a story of education, a story of breaking free of the shackles that are holding you back, to self-educate, and to move up in the world. And I thought it was a very powerful story from that sense, because it was actually a really good story, a very moving story, and one that I could relate to in some ways because of her strive for education. Get your education, don't forget from which it came. The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. In this one, I reviewed it as well back in March. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It just wasn't for me. I liked a lot of it. The characters were great and the writing was nice. I really liked the interconnectedness and the time jumps between different situations to help us connect everyone. What I did not like was that it all felt very anticlimactic. The plot, quote-unquote plot, that tied everything together, didn't feel like there was much there. I can't help but compare this to Station 11, which is also beautifully written, but at the same time, I feel like the only plot there still isn't much of a plot in Station 11. It's more of a backdrop, and the dystopian backdrop is just inherently interesting. So I think it works to help make that book a really pretty compelling book. Well, this one, I feel like, has all the writing, but without that backdrop, personally, I think it's less interesting, and it's hard to say this book was worth reading. We're almost halfway-ish. Well, this next book is a beautiful cover, and I'm actually very happy with it. And I've heard such great things about Ray Bearer, and this is a YA, I want to say, fantasy book. I actually really love this cover. Look at those colors, the contrast, that beautiful face. I just cannot wait to read this. This is one that I had to get because I've heard so much great things about it. I couldn't not read it next year. So I am excited to get to it, and I also am excited by this gorgeous cover. Look how beautiful it looks. Why am I whispering? I don't know. Next is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winters. This is an epic fantasy book that I bought because I heard good things about it, but also because I'm trying to get back into epic fantasy and read more of it. And I also recognize that I haven't really read any people of color in the epic fantasy genre. That was a big reason why I decided to go ahead and pick this one up if I'm going to be digging into epic fantasy. It was a good reason to go ahead and get it now as opposed to later. Next is The Haunting of Tramcar 15, which if you saw my books to read in 2021, this is one of them technically. It's a part of the series I want to read. And this is sort of a steampunk fantasy series or setting. I don't know much about it. I was going to say I think it's haunting, and it literally says in the title it's a haunting. So I don't know if it's actually a haunting or not, but I'm intrigued. I've heard great things about P. Djeli Clark, and I like that genre enough that I think I actually might really like this book, hence me getting it. I knew I wanted to read the new one this next year, so I wanted to go ahead and read that one in the short story that came before it for this series, which might be more of just a universe to which they exist in. I'm not sure if they're actually connected. Next are books 2 and 3 of the Three Body Problem series. I don't know what it's called. I wanted to get these because I was eager to finish the series, and I feel like if I don't continue it next year, I might never finish it. I like the first book, although it hasn't made a lasting impression, so I'll probably reread it before I move on. But I am still intrigued because I've heard such great things about it, and I do like alien stories, and it does seem to be an alien type story. I'm still confused. I'm not really sure where it's going, honestly. I do love these covers though. They look look epic. I am a little disappointed because if you look at my Three Body Problem paperback right there, the green one, you might can tell that it's slightly different. These are shorter than that one is, but I didn't realize I bought the UK edition. This isn't even the same publisher. This is not Tor when I bought these, but they were cheaper, so it is what it is. Okay, moving on to another series. We have Douglas Adams, and this is a Dirk Gently Detective Agency series. And if you've seen the Netflix adaptation, that's what this is. It's about a weird detective agency, this one particular detective who seems to have weird things happen around him. And it's sort of a time travel story, at least the first one is, and weird things are happening. He's able to figure stuff out with the most ridiculous logic, which I love ridiculous logic when that's the shtick. It's Douglas Adams. I love the TV show. Now I will say the TV show got canceled, which is probably the best because it turns out the creator is a bit of a toxic individual from what I've heard. But it's still a really fascinating premise, and I want to read more because I think I could actually really love Douglas Adams if I gave him a bigger chance. I haven't read him in years. I did read the first book of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but it's been a while and I actually need to reread it. Hence me getting the Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, the 42nd anniversary edition, which of course 42nd, if you've read it before, you know what it is. This is just a series I want to continue. And in fact, I'll probably reread the first story. Maybe I'll read them all at once. Who knows? This is a pretty big book, but it's 5 books in one. So I thought, why not? And technically this counts as only 1 book added to my TBR instead of 5. Hence me getting that. Another book series that I want to read and complete. Next, we have this absolutely gorgeous cover. Dune by Frank Herbert. This is one I'm a little anxious about because I'm not sure if I'll like it, because it is an epic sci-fi fantasy book that might be sort of over my head, but you know what? I'm digging deeper into books that might not be for me. And I just knew that if I was going to read this series, at least this book, I had to get this copy because it's, oh god, look at that. I didn't realize that was there. Because it's just so gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. Like, if I'm going to read this, goddammit, I want it as a trophy, okay? This is just too beautiful to pass up. And I was resistant to buy this, but then I figured, I'm all alone for Christmas. I might as well treat myself. Treat yourself, 2020. Next, we have The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. And this one I was hesitant to pick up again. I think because I thought it was YA, and I since learned that it's not YA. And because of that, I think I'm more likely to connect to the writing just because it's meant for adults. I love witches, I love magic, so I think this will work for me. I decided to go with this cover because I thought I like the simplicity of it. I like this sort of simple, almost demonic in nature. I hope I don't offend anyone who's Wicca. And then finally, the last but certainly not least, we have the Poppy War trilogy conclusion, books 2 and 3. What is the name of that series? But in any case, 2 and 3, The Burning God and The Dragon Republic. I was hesitant to buy these, not because I don't want to read them, I actually really do, but because they're so expensive. I bought the first one used off of thrift books a couple years ago, back before it was super popular, so I was able to get it fairly cheap. Now it's blown up, so naturally it's hard to get a used copy of this, so I ended up just buying it new and paying nearly full price for it. But I'm eager to finish it, especially since I've heard such great things. I was a little hesitant moving forward just because I really liked the first book. I liked the darkness of it, and I liked the moral ambiguity of our main character. And I was really worried that the direction our author would go was going to be basically to redeem her, and it sounds like, based on what I've heard, that it's not that simple. Like, maybe she does get redeemed, I don't know, but it sounds like things get pretty fucking dark. And I'm here for it. I'm here for that. Apparently it's actually supposed to be like a critique of, I think, war. It's supposed to show like the grim reality of war, which I don't like war, so I guess I like seeing it not glorified, is what I'm trying to say. That is my last book haul of 2020. And hopefully the last book haul of that size for quite a long time. We'll see what happens. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for the final day of Vlogmas. Today is the 11th day. Wow, that's so sad. I'll have to get back to work soon. I've been off like 1 day. Goodbye, everyone.